Imagine you send a message to someone you care about and you see that they have read your message. 1 hour passes, two, three. Then you wake up the next morning and check in. Then nothing. Now here is what's strange. You weren't waiting for the cure to cancer. You weren't waiting for life for death news. You're waiting for a simple reply. And yet something inside your chest felt like it was collapsing. Means you feel a pain unbearable. Why? Why does being ignored feel like dying? To someone you care deeply. Not metaphorically. I mean, your brain right now in that moment is processing the same signals as physical pain. Think about it. Being ignored feels like it's hurting you. The same neutral pathways, the same chemical response, the same signal. This video is not about social media, this is not about relationship, this is not even about loneliness. It is about something far older, far darker, far more important than any of that. It's about what happens to a human being when they are made to feel like they don't even exist. Here's the central problem. We live in the most connected era in human history. 8 billion people. Remember, 8 billion. Billions of people post every day. Thousands of messages every second. And yet, in a Harvard study, they have found that 36% of Americans feel loneliness. Among Gen Zs, the number jumps to 61%. Means nowadays youth feel loneliness. You have means now there are many ways of communication, many ways to see yourself before the earlier generation, but somehow you never felt more invisible. Like nowadays you feel invisible. That's not irony, that's a crisis. And nobody is talking about the real reason why. Go back, means go a million years ago. You are a human being on the African savannah. You live in a tribe of maybe 50 people, 60 people. If the tribe ignores you, if they stop seeing you, stop including you, stop speaking to you, it means one thing: you are going to die. Not symbolically, literally. You can't hurt alone. You can't survive the cold alone. You can't fight off predators alone. Execution wasn't an insult back then. Exclusion was a death sentence. Means you are excluded, you are alone, you are probably meant to be die because people begin to hunt in groups and you are not included in that group. Your brain hasn't changed since then. When you're ignored today, when someone leaves you on read, means they have read your messages, but they ignore it. When your idea is dismissed, when you walk into a room and no one notices you, your nervous system fires the same panic alarm it fired millions years ago. Danger, danger, danger. You are being cast out. This is called the social pain overlap theory, coined by neuroscientists. When humans experience social rejection, the same brain regions activate as when we experience physical injury. Being ignored doesn't just hurt your feelings, it hurts you physically, it hurts your brain. But here's the part nobody talks about. The problem isn't the people who ignore you, the real problem is what you do to yourself afterwards. Take an example, a student named Alex, not special, not broken, just ordinary. He means guess his height 16 age. The kind of kid who laughed loudly in empty rooms and went quiet in full ones. Means when he's alone, he's like full of laughter, his emotion, but when he's outdoor, he's enjoying with friends, he's quiet. He had an idea once, a startup idea. Actually, he was going to build an app for students to find study groups. He worked on it for 3 months, coded at night, drew wireframes in his notebooks. One day, he finally showed his teacher. The teacher looked at it for 10 seconds and said, "That already exists," and walked away. Alex closed his notebook. He stopped coding, not because the teacher was right. She wasn't, actually, not because the idea was bad, because in that single moment, something inside him agreed with the silence. Maybe I'm not worth responding to. Maybe I was never meant to be seen. He spent the next 2 years thinking. Smaller ideas, smaller dreams, smaller voices. This happens in real life. And when you share your pleasures, means your things, your ideas with your parents, and they say you need to study, and you feel like you are invisible in the house. You started become introvert. You don't talk to anybody, and you feel isolated, and you isolate yourself. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. This was a video of monk who said this line that stopped him cold. And Alex realized he hadn't been ignored by the world. He had learned to ignore himself. If you have watched Naruto, you know the story. An orphan boy, sent by his village invisible. But here is what most people miss about Naruto. His suffering wasn't his weakness, his suffering was his superpower. But only after he stopped letting it define him. Finally, Naruto chases acknowledgement like oxygen. Believe it, I will become the Hokage, notice me. And for the first 100 episodes, it almost destroys him because he's seeking for validation from the outside to fill a wound in the inside. But then Jiraiya says something simple and brutal. You can't keep fighting for someone else's approval. Find your own answer. Now look at the Thorfinn from Vinland Saga. This is one of the best anime I've ever watched. A boy consumed by rage, defined internally by what was done to him. Every waking moment spent chasing the man who killed his father. And the moment he finally gets what he wanted, he feels nothing. Because you cannot build yourself on a hatred. You cannot build a self on someone else's rejection. You cannot build an identity out of absence of acknowledgement. The anime writers knew this. Thorfinn's real journey begins only when he stops fighting against something and starts fighting for something. And in Blue Lock, means you have watched animes, Isagi's entire transformation happens the moment he stops worrying about whether his teammate will live in him and start asking what I can offer that no one else can. That question, that single question changes everything. So you need to find what you can do that nobody else can. Stop seeking validation everywhere. Let's talk about example. There was a child. He is fused with man's armor that nobody can pierce it. A great warrior, perhaps the greatest warrior who ever lived, means the protagonist. But when he steps into the tournament to compete alongside nobilities, the prince, the crowd demand his lineage. Means who are you? Where do you come from? And he cannot answer in the way they want because he was considered lowly being. He is by birth the wrong caste. He is ignored, marked, dismissed. But when a bad person, like a villainous character, said to him, I can see you. And then that warrior, that immortal warrior, who would have conquered any kingdom, the protagonist, pledges his loyalty to a villain for his life. Because a single moment of being seen changed everything. Now think about that. The greatest warrior in the story's history was almost erased, not by enemy on the battlefield, but by the silence of a crowd. And the one person who acknowledged him saved the entire destiny of the war. What does that tell you about the power of being seen? And more importantly, what does it tell you about how dangerous it is to give that power to other people? Here is what nobody ever teaches you in school. The way you respond to being ignored will determine the entire shape of your life. Not the ignoring, your response. Not reaction, your response. Now think about the Zen, a Buddhist story. There is a story that the Zen masters tell. A man is rowing his boat along a quiet river. Out of the fog, another boat collapses with him. He is furious. Watch where you are going. You could have capsized me. He stands up, ready to scream at whoever is in the other boat. But the other boat is empty, just drifting in the current. No one to blame, no one to unleash his wrath upon. Immediately, instantly, his race dissolves. Because race requires a target. You need an opponent. The Buddhists use this story to explain something radical. Most of the boat that crashes into us in life are empty. The person who ignored your message isn't thinking about you. The teacher who dismissed your idea hasn't forgotten you. The person who didn't invite you out was probably just thoughtless, not malicious. The boat is clearly empty. You attach too much importance to that thing, but we spend years angry at the empty boat. We build entire personalities around it. We make life decisions around it. We shrink ourselves because of it. The Buddhist term for this is the second arrow. The first arrow is the pain, being ignored, being rejected, being unseen. You can't always avoid the first arrow. But the second arrow is what you tell yourself about the first arrow. I was ignored because I was worthless. I'm invisible because I don't matter. No one sees me because I'm not enough. The second arrow is the one that does the real damage. And unlike the first, that one you fire yourself. But here is the truth that will change you, how you see everything. Are you ready? Being ignored is not a judgment about your worth. It is a measurement of other people's bandwidth. Read it again. When someone ignores you, they are not sending you a message about your value. They are revealing something about their own attention, their own wounds, their own limitations. A tree doesn't stop growing because someone didn't look at it. But somewhere between childhood and adulthood, you forget that. You started treating other people's attention as proof of your existence. And that single belief is the invisible prison. Because the moment you need someone else to look at you to feel real, you have handed them the keys to your identity, and most of them don't even know what they are holding it. There was an experiment, a game where participants were quickly excluded mid-game. Within minutes of being ignored in this game, people showed measurable drops in four core needs: belonging, self esteem, control, meaningful existence. They began to doubt their existence. That last one hits different: meaningful existence. Being excluded didn't just make people sad, it made them question whether their life had meaning. From a simple game. Imagine what years of feeling unseen does. That's also a concept called social death, studied by sociologists. You are a human, you can feel the pain. But here is what the science doesn't teach you. The same nervous system that breaks under invisibility can be rewired to become the most powerful force in your life. The first thing you need to do every morning before you open your phone, ask yourself one question: what do I notice in myself right now? Not what others think about yourself, not what other notification says, what you notice. You cannot be ignored by the world if you have already seen yourself. Second thing, when the pain of being ignored hits, and it will pause for 10 seconds, just ask, what story am I adding to this moment? Not the facts, the story, the movie. Means you're a character, you're the protagonist of your life. Why are you living in someone else's story? Third step, Alex eventually opened his notebook again, not because someone told him to, not because he got validation, because he realized the work was the point. Create your art, write your code, make your video, build your ideas. Not for the audience, for the act itself, because the person who creates in silence is building something the person who seeks approval never can. A self that exists independently of other people's gaze. Fourth thing, every time you feel the urge to seek acknowledgement, post something hoping for likes, wait anxiously for a reply, measure your worth in engagement, stop this nonsense, and ask instead what I can give right now. Take someone else who might be feeling invisible. Help someone else who isn't being seen, because the faster way to stop feeling invisible is to make someone else visible. Step 5. The great warrior gave his loyalty to first person who saw him, to the villain. Don't make the mistake. Find the people who constantly see you, means they see your worth. You have seen countless videos about the main character is being ignored by his wife or by his family because he seeks validation in the people who don't even love him, who don't even see him. Listen, there is a moment in every person's life, a quite unremarkable moment, where you stop waiting to be noticed, acknowledged, or for someone else's eyes to confirm your existence. And in that moment, something shifts. You're no longer a person asking the world, can you see me? You become a person deciding what you can do. You become the hero, the protagonist, the main character of that story, your own story. You will write your own destiny with your own hands, your action. Not other people will write your destiny. You were never visible. You were just seen by the wrong people, in the wrong rooms, at the wrong time. And you made the mistake of letting their blindness become your belief. You wanted to act in someone else's movie as a side character, but you can become the main character in your own story. Psychology taught us being ignored activates real pain. Neuroscience taught us the brain can be rewired towards self-recognition. Buddhism taught us the second arrow is always optional. Anime taught us purpose built from pain is indestructible. The only acknowledgement that lasts is one you give yourself. Not arrogance, delusion, selfishness, a quiet, steady, unshakable decision. I'm here, I'm the real one, I'm the main character of my story, and no one can write my story in their own way. Before you go, I want you to do one thing right now. Think of one thing you have been waiting for someone else to validate before you started. A project, a dream, a conversation, a change, just one. And ask yourself, what if I had started that today? Not for them, but for me. If something in this video cracks something open in you, share it with the worst person you think is feeling invisible. They might need this video more than you. There's more where this came from. I will end this with the line: the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Means what you fear, if you take the first step in that, you will get the greatest treasure in that.